The time is now 6 p.m. We will now call this regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humboldt Independent School District to order. Moving to our first item of business, a public hearing. A closed session of the board will now be held on the matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is now 6 p.m. Right. No problem. The time is 7:09 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder that the meetings of the board are open to the public, but are not a meeting of the public. The Humboldt ISD Board of Trustees meet monthly in a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and take action from recommendations of the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation several days in advance of the regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions in advance of the regular meeting. Therefore, lengthy discussions are not always necessary on every agenda item. But as a board, we do have the appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of the meeting tonight. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item. I would ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the Texas flag. The colors will be presented by the Summer Creek High School Army Junior ROTC.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We will now observe a moment of silence. You may be seated. The next item is public comment. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedure outlined on the agenda. The board asks that comments pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. In addition, the board has adopted complaint policies that are designed to secure at the lowest administrative level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Complaints brought by students or their parents, by employees, and by citizens may be heard in accordance with board policies. Each of these processes provides that if a resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal the administrative decision to the board as a properly posted agenda item. Copies of our district policies on public participation in meetings and filing complaints are available on the Humboldt ISD website. And with that, I'd like to call Mr. James Lovell as our first public comment speaker. Did I pronounce that last name?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate
Mr.
it.
President, quickly, Mr. Kirchhoffer will not be online per Ms. Martin for the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
Sorry.
No worries.
okay.
I want to say good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is James Lovell. I'm with the Harris County Tax Office for Voter Registration. I do come in peace, I promise. I'm just here reaching out. I've been assigned to Precinct 3, and Humble ISD falls under Precinct 3, and I want to make sure we're doing everything we can to get students and staff registered to vote and become informed voters in the process of them becoming graduating seniors. So I'm here today to talk. I know for a lot of independent school districts, they have 2 voter education seminars per year, some sort of activity, and you work closely with the county clerk. So that's great to hear. I want to see how we can get into the high schools and make sure that everything is happening, getting these students registered to vote. Anyone that's eligible can, as well as having informed staff and students to do so, community members as well. We'd like to take part in any sort of community events that you guys have, or if you need any help planning any activities or presentations where we can come and register the students, we'd love to be able to do so. We can also help the principals because they have jurisdiction to register their students to vote. So we'd be happy to collect the applications from them if they want to handle it all in-house, and we'll just come and grab it from them and make the process as smooth as possible. Any way that we can do that, I'd love to be able to help and assist. We also offer a volunteer deputy registrar program, and we offer 9 virtual trainings a week, but we're also able to do it in person as well, where you can take a 1-hour training to become deputized so that you can register Harris County residents to vote. So it's a simple training, and we'll just listen to me talk for an hour, and then we'll provide you with a packet so that you can help out with voter registration. We'll even provide you with some opportunities if that's the way you would like to go. Otherwise, it's completely at your own pace. So yes, I would love to be able to do more with the Humble ISD, go into the high schools, get them registered to vote. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce to do BizCom at the selective high schools that those business comms are happening at. But I want to be able to reach out to you and offer my hand, offer my contact information, and get some things planned either for this at the end of the year or for the fall of next year. Thank you for your time, and I'll be over here. If anyone needs my contact information, I'm happy to give it to you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Deanie Allen.
I am Deanie Allen, reading specialist and dyslexia specialist. Tonight, the board will choose a new elementary reading program, the one we'll use for the next 10 years. HMH or Bluebonnet? Well, 29 schools said that HMH is best for their school. Only 1 school chose Bluebonnet. Teachers, coaches, and principals voted HMH as best for their students. I want to give a big congratulations to the literacy team who designed the rubric to evaluate the reading programs. Absolutely smashing. Nothing was left to, nothing was overlooked. We really got a very thorough evaluation, and the points were weighted. When you look at the points, HMH got 178 points. Bluebonnet got 95. Yes, 178 to 95. If this was the Olympics, I don't know if Bluebonnet would have qualified. Let's look at what Bluebonnet does. Every student on the same page at the same time. No lessons to accelerate students. No lessons to help struggling students. Very little help for our students who struggle and have weak English skills. And many lessons require teachers to prepare necessary materials to teach the lessons. Now, if we look at HMH, it's a very detailed science of reading program with reading, writing, speaking, and listening. There are videos on teaching the lesson. If you're a new teacher or a veteran teacher who wants to get a little refresher, just watch the video. The lessons are ready to use, no prep required. There are also ready-to-use lessons to accelerate, to intervene, and to give extra practice. And some students just need a lot of practice. There are rich texts and stories to improve vocabulary and comprehension in science, social studies, and art. Districts with demographics similar to ours have chosen HMH. They scored a B on TEA ratings. Klein, B. Katy, B. Spring Branch, B. Please vote for HMH reading tonight. Our students deserve the very best.
Thank you. Comments by individual board members. We will do a round table, starting with Mr. Silva.
Thank you, Mr. President. I started getting ready to make comments today and trying to make a list of all the good things that happened over the last week. But then I gave up because I was like, I'm going to forget somebody and they're going to get mad. But all the good things happened over the last week, from Boots and Bling to sports to everything else, ROTC, et cetera. So just kudos to all those amazing students and educators that participated in all those things. But I'll keep my stuff short tonight. I have a lot of comments later, so thank you.
Absolutely. Mrs. Parker, who, again, happy birthday
Oh,
on today.
thank you. Well, I will just echo Mr. Silva, too much good, and I think it's going to be a long night, so I'll just go ahead and give it back.
All right. I'll say this, and then I'll say this because I want the team to be ready. We as a board wanted to allow our teachers who are listening in online, and if there's any here, we wanted that discussion on materials for education, which I believe is item 7E, I believe. I want that to be part of the first part of the discussion. Why? Because a lot of them, this is going to be a long meeting, and I'd rather have that, which I think is one of the most important votes and discussions, to be ready. So team didn't want to just surprise you, but that is going to be the first part of the agenda. And again, that's out of the respect for our teachers and just listening to them out of respect. So we're going to do that. And again, collectively as a board, I think it's the right thing to do. So team that is presenting, just want to put you on notice. You'll be first up here coming, okay? And then I'll go ahead and move to, and he didn't want me to do this, but I like doing it because, again, it's about the team. Mr. Grabowski and Mr. Scarfo discussed that, brought it to me, and I thought it, again, was an absolutely great idea. So again, just wanted to let you know that was brought to my attention by those two guys, gentlemen, and I thought it was, again, a great idea. So please, Mr. Grabowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. And keeping on the theme of the night, it's going to be teachers, so this is some more teacher news. I'm going to say it now, and I'll probably say it again just for disclosure. My beautiful bride is a teacher here in the district, and every year we hear the same message from our teachers: having more time to prepare your classrooms before the school year begins makes a real difference. So this changes for you. After summer break, when teachers return, we will not ask teachers, staff to leave the campus to attend convocation. Instead, everyone will remain on their own campus and view the convocation message by video in a faculty meeting. This means no bus travel and more valuable time right where it's needed most, on your campus. Coming together as a district and connection matters, but Dr. Brown and his team believes we can maintain that spirit while being more mindful of everyone's time by gathering in person every other year. So this August, convocation will be delivered by video rather than held off campus at a central location. Then August of 27, we will gather again in person at a central location. We're excited about this change and what it means for giving staff more flexibility as they prepare for a great year ahead. And then a small shout out, as I always do, Summer Creek High School Army JROTC. Those 4 kids look sharp. So thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Mr. Scarfo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will step out of character, and I will have nothing to say because we have a pretty big meeting. Thank you.
Are you serious?
Mrs. Shaw.
Okay, I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum. We did have all the good things that happened, but I can't go. My child has played on the sports team for 3 years, and Kingwood Girls Soccer won state. So we've got to honor that and just honor Coach Holcomb, who's not here with us, but he has shepherded that team for how many years, Mr. Bodron? Coach Holcomb. Right after you, right? Yeah. 8 years, and he lost to a long battle with cancer last year. So, but that team looked amazing, and if you were there, they fought till the very end. So Coach Bell for taking over and making a great program happen. And best of luck on state testing and national testing and AP testing. All of that is coming up for our district. Those are big measurement markers that we're actually looking at. So just best of luck to all of our teachers who are nervous about that, and students who are nervous. Just, just support our teachers and support your students. So that's it.
Yeah, I think our next recognition meeting will probably be quite a long one, Mr. Scarfo. Thank you.
We might have to move the
We might have to move it, yeah. I'm not even going to start. This district, from a UIL fine art standpoint, the top 10, from valedictorian down to that top 10th person at each school, saw that. I have Instagram where Humble ISD, I get a ding every single time there's some good news, and I had to turn it off. It's so much good stuff going that I'm constantly being fed, just some really great things that our district is doing. So I will refrain, like you said, all those things. It's just too much. It's a lot of good stuff going on. So that's all I have. Comments from the administration? All right, we're ready to get going then. Yes, Dr. Brown, you're ready? Okay. All right, moving on to our next agenda item. Action items from closed session. Item 4A, personnel recommendations. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented in closed session with addendum.
Second.
Any discussion? I did want to say this. One, I am going to vote in favor of this personnel recommendation. But I am remiss that we do not have an athletic director in position at this point in time. But I do not want to stop the hiring of, I believe it's 19 or 20 personnel, but I did want to make note of that. And I'll leave it there. All those, any further discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd just like to understand why. I don't understand your comments. And
Right. So how, and Mr. Rush, Attorney Rush, keep me in line here, but I believe a recommendation was made, right?
The interview process was discussed, but no recommendation was made.
Okay, so the interview process was conducted. I believe the process was fair from what I gathered from my review of the process. I do believe a recommendation could have been brought forward. It wasn't, and again, I'm just taking note of that based on the fact that out of an abundance and prudence in the process, I felt we could have made one. And I just want to make note of it. I just want to be on record, but I still am going to vote in favor of the personnel recommendations. I do feel the process was fair, judicious, laborious, transparent, done with fidelity. Any further discussion? Yes. Mr. Grabowski.
Are we allowed to talk about what we talked in closed session? Because there's a great difference of opinion up here.
I believe we can discuss well, Dr. Brown, do you have anything that you can add to this conversation? This might be the way to go. Yeah.
All right, so let me, if that's all right with the board, would you like me to address this? Everybody okay with me addressing this? Okay. So following discussions with the Board of Trustees, the personnel recommendation tonight does not include the hiring of an athletic director. Some of the board members raised questions about the interview process used during the search and expressed a desire for a broader involvement from current athletic department leadership in selecting a leader for the athletic department. So as a result of that discussion, no hiring recommendation is being made tonight for this position. The position will be reposted in the future to allow for a competitive application process. We will incorporate the board's feedback as we move forward, and our goal is to ensure a thoughtful, inclusive, and thorough process that best serves our students, staff, and community. And so while You know, we've had discussion about the process, and we all have our opinions on that. In the end, you know, we're going to listen to the will of the board, and so we'll move forward, and we'll have an interim athletic director at this time, and then we'll repost at a later date and move forward.
Mrs. Parker.
So I would just like to say that sometimes people make mistakes, and I had a conversation with somebody, and I asked for the rubric so that I would have full and complete buy-in before the process began, and the person forgot. They forgot. They forgot to give it to me. And so I just had confusion when a person was even brought forward. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even, you know, just was a confusing process. And so certainly nothing against any individual or anything like that. It just was not done exactly how I wanted it to be done, and we will go back to the drawing board at some point, and I'm sure it'll be done absolutely perfectly.
So, Mr. Grabowski. Mr. Scarfo? Okay.
Yeah, I'm frankly a little surprised we're talking about this, but I was not happy with the process either. I think certain steps that had been followed in the past were not followed in this present. I'll leave the details out. And again, we do not have an athletic director. We have an interim athletic director. Correct, Counselor?
That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was not pleased with the process as well. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
And I will just echo the same that's why I asked the question when you made your comments, and that's fine. Everybody has their opinion. I was not happy at all with the process because I don't think it really followed what needed to happen to get to a candidate that we could really consider. And it wasn't about an individual, it was about the process. And I don't like people painting things through certain filters because that's very unfair and attacking people because of that. And we did, if we approve this agenda item right now, we will have hired an assistant athletic director is on this agenda, on this personnel agenda, correct? Okay. And as Mr. Grabowski made clear that because some of the information that was out there publicly was incorrect about that. And it was not hiring an athletic director. It was an interim director because we had to have somebody in that place because Mr. Odom has decided to retire at the end of June or the beginning of June, whichever it is. So that's where we are there. It's just unfortunate that things get painted in certain ways that isn't true, but that's nothing you can do about that, other than to try to clarify what your personal thinking was, and I'm telling you what my thinking was, and what I expected, I don't believe, in my opinion, didn't happen. So I wasn't comfortable with, I like to make my decisions, like to be data-driven, but the data has to come from what I feel is a good process. If I feel the process is flawed, I can't rely on that data. So that's why I back away from that. And that's where I'm coming from.
That's
so
right.
Just so you understand, that's all.
I absolutely do. And
Thank you.
I wanted to bring it up because I know it's, we have, I think as a board, done an incredible job cleaning up leaks, trying to be as transparent as possible, and I did not want, with what's out there in the public, where there's misinformation, to a degree that we cannot discuss because it's a personnel matter, and that's why I just wanted to open up the discussion. It did not come from this board, in my best estimate, and from a legal perspective, those leaks did not come from this board. But I will say I wanted to open up the discussion, and I respect each and every one of these board members' opinions. And collectively as a board, we're going to vote the way we vote, but I did have an opinion, and I did want those who had different or opposing or the same to have, it on record what their opinion was as well. So thank you. I do appreciate it. Thank you. If there's not any other discussion, all those in favor? All right, all those opposed? Of course, Mr. Kirchhoffer is not here to vote, so the vote is unanimous, 6-0. All right, now, I think we'll go through consent. Let's see. Yeah, let's move through, moving to item 5, our consent agenda. Does any trustee have any item they wish to pull from the consent agenda? All right, good. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5Q.
All those in,
Second.
oh, sorry. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, vote passes 6-0. Next is our information items. As I, yes, sir.
Did you say through Q or R?
I said Q.
I said Q, sorry.
There's an R, isn't there?
Is there?
There is an R on the community
Oh,
agenda.
it's, okay, so that R is gone?
Hold on, time
No,
out.
wait a minute.
Well, I know what it is, I'm just saying it is.
No, good point. It should be through R.
Oh, that's okay.
Do we need to revote,
Yep.
Counselor?
Yes, you'll need to rescind the prior vote and then revote.
Yeah. I move to rescind the prior vote.
Second.
All those in favor? Vote is unanimous, 6-0, to rescind the prior vote and reintroduce. Mr. Silva, do I have a motion? Item 5, our consent agenda. Do I have a motion on that consent agenda?
Yes, apologies all around on that, y'all. I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5R.
Second.
All those in favor? Vote passes unanimously, 6-0. All right, next is our information items. As shared previously, I want to go ahead and jump to item 7E and go ahead and discuss that. And item 7E is instructional materials, review and adoption, cycle 2025 and 2026 through 2027, certification of provision of instruction materials. We will have a presentation for this item from the Teaching and Learning Department.
Some of our many experts,
Many,
because they are, just
Yes.
like on the campuses.
absolutely. It's a huge vote. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Brown, members of the board. Thank you for having us tonight. We are excited to share the process and the recommendations that have been brought forward by the adoption selection committees. As you know, this work has taken months of thoughtful collaboration, research-based decision-making, and stakeholder engagement, all grounded in our district's vision for excellence in education. So to provide just a little bit of clarity, the slides that we shared with you previously have been revised with very minor revisions, just based on the discussions that we had during our curriculum board meeting on Wednesday, or curriculum committee meeting last Wednesday. And also you have now a handout of some of the items that are in the presentation that might have been a little small to read on the slides, so those are there to help you. And as we move through the presentation, the items that are in your handout that are referenced on the slides will have a green star next to it so that you know that there's a corresponding page in your handout. So first, I will share the details about the adoption process. Our process was very structured and intentional, and we focused on 3 key components: clearly defining the scope of the reviews, developing and calibrating rigorous rubrics, and ensuring meaningful stakeholder input was throughout the entire process. And this ensured that every recommendation is both data-informed and aligned to our district priorities. The second part of the presentation, we will have the content experts from the teaching and learning team who will share details about the recommendations from the selection committees, the committee rubric scoring and rationales, stakeholder feedback, and also instructional benefits of the materials. So before I dive into the details of the presentation, I just want to take a moment to introduce the selection committee members who are present here tonight. These amazing, so if you'll please stand. And we have some, I'm sure, online that are watching the Zoom. And if you'll keep standing. So these amazing educators here and on Zoom who stand before you are dedicated, and they represent all of our campuses throughout the district.
And they got paid a big fat stipend to do this, huh? Thank you.
They volunteered countless. No. That would be nice, right, Billy? Yeah. So they brought a wide range of expertise, lots of classroom experience, and student-centered perspectives to carefully review the materials, evaluate them, and to bring forward a recommendation to you that aligns with our district goals and supports the diverse needs of all of our learners. So every campus voice that you see on here mattered in the process, as you will see tonight, and the committee ensured that the decisions reflected the realities that they see every day in the classrooms across all grade levels and subject areas. So thank you for your thoughtful collaboration, transparency, and aligned focus on our student success. Okay, so getting into the scope of the reviews. We were very clear at the outset of what was and was not within the scope of this adoption. Our focus was on instructional materials, so that was included in the scope. These are the resources that directly support the teaching of the TEKS, including both print and digital resources. But the process did not include the curriculum as a whole. We were focused on the materials that bring the curriculum to life in the classrooms. The distinction ensured that we stayed focused on the tools that directly impact the teaching and learning in classrooms. Additionally, we looked to align this adoption to district accountability goals that you have set for us to increase STAR performance. We wanted to ensure that the materials were rigorous and vertically aligned. The materials needed to be included on the State Board of Education's instructional materials approved list, and that they covered 100% of the TEKS and the applicable ELPs for the grade level and subject matters. Additionally, the scope was for full subject materials. These are commonly referred as Tier 1 or the core basic materials that, if implemented with fidelity, would cover all of the TEKS for that grade level without a need for supplementation. In elementary, it was full subject materials for grades K through 5. In secondary math, full subject materials for grades 6 through 8, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, Algebraic Reasoning, and Pre-Calculus. And also in the core, we had a new course, full subject material adoption for Social Studies, and it was the African American Studies course, both on level and AP. So then we got into the rubrics. The selection committee engaged in multiple sessions throughout the entire school year to define their priorities, calibrate their expectations, and evaluate the materials thoroughly. As you can see in your handout on page 3, the nominations started in October. Every campus was represented through careful selection by the building principals, and these representatives, as we just noted, served as the voice of their campus. They were reviewed and approved by this board during the November board meeting, and then we moved forward with actual collaboration. In November was the first meeting, and that was to align with the district's vision. The committee focused on research-based instructional strategies, addressed key needs and priorities, and they developed the comprehensive rubric to guide the process. In meeting number 2, let me go back. In meeting number 2, it was held, depending on the grade level and subject area, during the months of December and January, and they calibrated those evaluation rubrics to ensure a consistent and thorough assessment of the materials. And then during meetings 3 through the end, which occurred through January through March, they conducted all of their reviews, finalized their campus rubric scores, and that process that we led through the entire year ensured consistency, clarity, and fairness in all of the evaluations. Then we moved into the vision of the district. We want to make sure that all students, regardless of the classroom that they are in, grow academically every single day that they are in our care. So the committees looked at the research-based instructional strategies developed by TEA for language arts at the elementary level. These included the foundational skills that include explicit systematic practice. They had text complexity, regular practice with grade-level complex text materials and academic language. The third item was looking at knowledge coherence and vocabulary, and finally, text-based responses through reading, writing, and speaking with evidence from the text. For the math areas, they looked at the RBs, those research-based instructional strategies. And what you will see on the slide tonight, board, is slightly different than the presentation that we previously shared, because this infographic was updated the day after we had the curriculum meeting. So this is the latest and greatest version from TEA, showing that we still, it's just a tweak to their graphic there, still focusing on the depth and coherence of key concepts and procedures. Secondly, looking at conceptual understanding, fluency, and automaticity. The third item, effective explicit instruction for those novice learners. And finally, effective practice for mathematical independence. So when the committees created the rubric, it was anchored in 2 key drivers. First, what we want for our students, which is aligned to our vision. And secondly, what we know from research are those best instructional practice. When we combined those and defined what we needed in the instructional materials to support both, the committees brainstormed around different topic areas, such as content, student supports, student experiences, and teacher experiences. They did that at the elementary level for language arts and reading. They did the same for the mathematics at secondary. And from those brainstorms, they created those comprehensive rubrics that drove their evaluations. What you're seeing on the screen is the first page of each rubric. This is the rubric for math. Once that rubric was developed, you will notice that all items were required to be SBOE approved on the list there, 100% of the TEKS and ELPs covered, and for elementary language arts and reading, it was crucial that the materials include a fully developed Spanish edition as well. The categories on the rubric included instructional design, student supports, organizational design and functionality, and finally, the committees identified high priority criteria. The criteria was defined as high priority because they had the greatest influence on instructional quality, equity, and student outcomes. So as you can see, elements were weighted. Some items had a single weight, others had a double weight, and those with the most influence were triple weighted. Finally, the committees calibrated their rubrics. They were very specific about what each number on the rubric meant, and they connected those to the materials. Then they started doing their evaluations, and they were very mindful when they were evaluating the materials to consider all learner needs. They considered the grade spans, emergent bilingual needs, and special ed needs, as well as our GT and advanced learners, our technology use, and our Spanish resources. They gathered input from their campuses, ensuring that their teacher voices and classroom realities were central to the process throughout. Critical to the process was stakeholder input. It was highly collaborative and included a lot of stakeholder engagement. From November through March, we implemented several feedback loops. through the adoption selection committees, campus staff, advisory and oversight committees, and the broader community. This ensured a transparent and inclusive approach, ensuring that our decisions were informed by a broad range of insights and expertise. We also needed to consider other factors for implementation, including district-wide support structures from the Teaching and Learning Division, master schedules and Tier 1 lesson blocks, differentiation and personalization opportunities, parent access to the materials, and compatibility with our technology, because we know we are not a one-to-one district, and we had district technology criteria that was included as well. This ensured that the selected materials were not only high quality, but also practical and sustainable. Finally, we moved into work with campus staff. All campuses participated in a very structured feedback process to inform their recommendations. Teachers on the campuses had the opportunity to review materials, evaluate using the rubric, and provide their professional feedback. As you can see, a faculty presentation was prepared on each of the campuses in February with an agenda, a presentation with a script. Selection committee evaluation rubrics were shared, and there were sign-in sheets from the teachers that participated in those meetings. This resulted in a strong representative campus-level input. We also had at the elementary level a standardized feedback form to ensure a consistent process across campuses. All reading instructional staff who participated in that February campus-based presentation were given the opportunity to provide their input, and they were able to select one publisher and product. And the three that were listed there: HMH Into Reading, Savvis, Texas MyView Literacy, and TEA Bluebonnet Reading. Finally, all campus representatives, along with their principals, submitted one evaluation packet. The packet included the completed rubrics for all of the publishers. They included the official campus vote with a written rationale as to the campus decision, and it included the teacher presentation sign-in sheets. We also prioritized transparency and public feedback, ensuring that the voices of the broader community, including parents, teachers, and other stakeholders, were heard and considered in the decision-making process. We had two locations, at the ISC and the Early Childhood Center. We had options for review of the materials both during the day and some evenings, as well as digital online. The hard copy and physical reviews were in the public showcases, and the digital reviews could have been anytime, anywhere on a device. During the day, as you can see in this picture from here, from at the ISC, we conducted the showcases January 5th through February 27th, and then we had 4 evenings during those 2 months as well. We set up elementary and secondary rooms with all of the samples, and the campus committee, or the selection committee members and those principals encouraged their staff to come during their off-duty time and even during late release days and on staff development days. We had a dedicated web page that was set up for those digital online reviews. And we had emails that were coming from the Humble Connect every week from December 12th through February 23rd. We appreciated Mr. Holmes and Ms. Shaw as you provided stakeholders with information about the adoption during the February board brief that was sent to community. And we had the information posted on our district website. With all of that communication and encouragement to come view, we had a total of 232 visitors in and out of the ISC and or ECC. This is a duplicate count because some people came more than one time. We had feedback responses for both the community, parents, and district staff, and those comments were reviewed by the Adoption Advisory Committee. We had a total of 181 responses through those surveys, And in a little while, you'll hear more about the information about the type of feedback that we received. Finally, we had other layers of review to ensure alignment, accountability, and readiness for implementation. So throughout the process, we had the advisory committee working to ensure that every recommendation that we were bringing forward was aligned with any legislative updates, the procedures were being followed across the board, and to promote best practices for improvement. We also made sure that the feedback from stakeholders was at forefront. Finally, we had the Oversight Committee. This is a cross-functional group representing various areas of our district. It included other departments like technology, finance, budget, warehouse, teaching and learning, special ed. So just a big cross-section to ensure that as we're adopting materials, that has a widespread impact on all staff. And we wanted to make sure that we had strategic decisions on the materials that were being adopted. This committee, the Oversight Committee, also included principals from each of the levels. So we had one elementary principal representing the elementary span, same with middle school and high school. The committee reviewed the recommendations from the adoption selection committees and approved for it to be brought forward for your review tonight. This layered approach strengthened both quality and accountability. And then tonight, the recommendations are in your hands to review the materials and ask questions as needed along the way. As the materials are adopted, then we look forward to having your support on a successful implementation and to provide updates to you on the instructional progress throughout the following year, as usual. So if approved, the materials would be ordered as soon as possible so that they could be in the classrooms for next school year, the 26-27 school year. This would allow ample time for training, preparation, and a strong launch. So as you can see, the adoption process reflected our commitment to high-quality instruction, stakeholder engagement, and of course, continuous improvement. So as we move forward in the presentation, as I mentioned, I would cover the process, and now we're going to get into the content areas, starting with elementary English language arts and Spanish language arts. And I would like to introduce our content expert, Lucrece Goff, who is our coordinator for elementary language arts and reading, who will share additional information about the recommendations, the scoring, and the feedback.
Good evening. Tonight, I am presenting the elementary RLA recommendation for instructional materials. To support this recommendation, we're going to look at several key sources of evidence. The first key source of evidence we will view is the recommendation from our Adoption Selection Committee. We will also look at the campus standardized feedback from our reading instructional staff. We will also view the committee's rubric scoring, utilizing our detailed standardized rubric. And lastly, we will view the multi-stakeholder feedback. This feedback will include parents, staff, and community members. The IM Adoption Selection Committee submitted one recommendation per campus, including a rationale for their recommendation. 29 campuses recommended HMH into reading, one recommended Bluebonnet reading. As we viewed their rationale, there were three key themes that emerged. Our selection committee noted that HMH into reading had a clear, well-organized design that will streamline the planning process for our teachers. They also mentioned that HMH into reading had strong alignment to the science of reading that will support explicit, systematic instruction across all components of literacy. The committee also noted that HMH into reading had engaging, diverse texts that will build our students' knowledge as well as support their reading comprehension. We also elicited feedback from our campus standardized reading instructional staff. We had a total of 679 responses. 80% of those responses were in favor of HMH into reading. 13% of those responses were in favor of SAVAS, and 6% of those were in favor of Bluebonnet reading. Our Adoption Selection Committee also viewed both of the resources in both print and digital form. And as you can see here, HMH Interreading consistently scored the highest across all areas. Some of those areas included lesson design, student support, and teacher usability. Our last key source of evidence for our recommendation is the stakeholder feedback. Again, this stakeholder feedback includes parents, staff, as well as community members. Some of the key things we noted for each resource is that HMH Interreading was strongly preferred, it was easy to follow, and also there was a strong support for small group instruction. Savas was viewed as familiar, it was a structured option, but also we received feedback that it may require some additional supplementation from our teachers. And then lastly, Bluebonnet Reading raised some concerns among our stakeholders. They mentioned the inclusion of religious content as well as some questions about grade level appropriateness of the resource. Based on these key pieces of evidence, we are formally recommending for the 26-27 implementation of our elementary ELAR, SLAR, instructional materials, K-5 English, HMH Interreading, version 2, and K-5 Spanish, HMH Arriba La Lectura, version 2. We believe HMH Interreading will support two key priorities here in Humble ISD. The first key priority being supporting our student achievement, and then also strengthening our teacher instructional practice. HMH Interreading will support student achievement by affording our students differentiated support. So thinking about those students who need targeted intervention, but also thinking about the students who need that acceleration as well. This resource will also provide our students with evidence-based instruction because it is grounded in the science of reading and it does follow the structured literacy framework. It will afford our students daily, explicit, systematic instruction in all components of literacy, such as phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. It also follows a knowledge-building focus, so our students will have coherent, knowledge-rich texts across multiple disciplines, such as science, social studies, and fine arts. And then lastly, it would afford our students instructional coherence. So our students will have a vertically aligned resource that will ensure they have the skills needed to progress from one grade level to the next. The next key priority that HMH Interreading will satisfy here in Humble ISD is strengthening our teachers' instructional practice. HMH Interreading has professional development for our teachers where they will be able to get ongoing embedded videos that they can watch to strengthen their instructional delivery. It would also have time-saving tools for our teachers. So they would have ready-to-teach lessons, pre-made anchor charts, and interactive resources so that our teachers can utilize their time doing the real work, focusing on responding to the needs of the students in their classrooms. And then lastly, HMH Interreading will strengthen our teachers' instructional practice by including instructional routines that are aligned to the science of reading as well as structured literacy. So we will have consistent, repeatable routines across all Humble ISD campuses, all 30 elementary campuses. I did also have the opportunity to collaborate with several districts across the state of Texas, virtually and in person. So here's just a sampling of some additional research that I did for you on some of our neighboring districts that are currently utilizing HMH. As you can see here, their adoption year and then their last two previous accountability ratings. I also did the same thing with neighboring districts that are currently utilizing Bluebonnet Reading. Because this is year one of implementation for Bluebonnet Reading, there are not as many districts that have adopted Bluebonnet Reading. But again, you can see here some of the districts in our area as well as their last 2-year accountability ratings. Thank you.
Mr. Holmes? Ms. Goff, can I just ask a question? If I asked this last week in the curriculum meeting, forgive me, but when that one slide where it said 679 survey respondents, and it showed that Bluebonnet came in third, I think it's 6, you don't have to put it, yeah, at 6%, and Savas was 13. I don't understand how that kind of connects to the rubric scoring where Bluebonnet was, even in total, was well above Savas, or how do you say it, Savas?
Savas,
Okay, sorry.
So-
I'm missing that.
So the campus standardized feedback was only from our reading instructional staff, so our
okay.
reading teachers. So we just wanted to capture their choice.
Okay, I'm caught up. Thank you.
Yes.
You did tell me that last week, so forgive me.
Good evening. My name is Leah Brinkley. I am the secondary math coordinator, and I'm going to speak with you about the adoption selection committee work we did for secondary math. I'm also going to walk you through our process, starting with the adoption selection committee recommendations, the rubric scores, along with our stakeholder feedback. The IM Adoption Selection Committee submitted one recommendation per campus, including a rationale for their recommendation. There were 17 recommendations in favor of Savas and 0 recommendations in favor of the other 3 publishers. Some themes that arose out of our committee rationale, and believe me, they wrote a lot. They talked about the ease of use, the efficiency of planning, and how user-friendly the program is. There is comprehensive and flexible resources that support diverse learners. It is engaging and student-centered, and it really promotes problem-solving inside of our math classrooms. The resource also provides abundant resources for both students and teachers, including videos for students and teachers, worked examples, and interactive tools to support both teaching and learning. On page 6 of your handout, if you need to see it, we have our rubric scoring. So we had 30 committee members, and of those 30 committee members, each member submitted 8 rubrics, and this is the average of their work. So averages of their scoring. If you look at the numbers, Savas' total rubric score is 181.89, and in second place was Bluebonnet at 121. So our numbers are for Savas are much higher than the second place rubric scores. Our stakeholder feedback from the public showcase, Agile Minds had mixed feedback. It was praised for its interactive and visual elements, but concerns were raised about the effectiveness compared to other options. Bluebonnet had feedback primarily from community members that were citing concerns about the quality and perceived non-secular content. McGraw-Hill had consistently positive feedback, and it was valued for its traditional structure and familiarity for both students and families. Savas had limited feedback, but it was generally neutral, and it was appreciated for its digital platform and its usability. We had a total of 52 responses, and of those 52, the majority of the positive feedback happened for our traditional textbooks like McGraw-Hill and Savas. For that reason, for 26-27 implementation, we are recommending for grades 6 through 8, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, that we adopt Savas Learning, Envision plus Mathematics, and Envision plus AGA. This instructional resource supports student achievement through a balanced instructional approach that combines problem solving with step-by-step instruction, explicit instruction from the teacher. It provides instructional continuity in the instructional model from elementary math into secondary. It is a very balanced program with conceptual, procedural, and application elements, and it has built-in differentiation for students. For our teachers, it strengthens our instructional practice through clear instructional routines, following the explore, understand, practice, problem solve model. It does provide comprehensive teacher supports with ready-to-use lessons, with questioning for our teachers. It uses visual models. It even provides videos for our teachers to utilize if they need that support. It has data-driven differentiation tools with built-in assessments that can personalize learning for students. It is very technology enhanced, but also offers a paper side as well, so it is balancing that. With the digital platform, it has adaptive resources and interactive resources to help increase student engagement as well. Something to note is Savas does help maintain the instructional continuity from elementary Bluebonnet math. I want to draw your attention to the left side where we talk about the resource will support alignment from grade 5 to grade 6 because it embeds fluency, explicit instruction, problem solving, and again, that conceptual procedural application balance. It also, we want to highlight that we know that a new instructional resource is not, it's not enough alone, so we must support our teachers, so we will be doing that through targeted professional learning, curriculum documents highlighting that alignment from 5th grade to 6th grade, and ongoing supports through coaching. For algebraic reasoning, we are recommending Cosenza and Associates Algebraic Reasoning. This is our current resource, so we are recommending that we add the online component to this current instructional resource. There were 3 recommendations in favor of Cosenza and Associates and 3 recommendations against. There will be no change in the instructional resource, but we are requesting that we can add that online component to support our students and our teachers. And for pre-calculus, we are recommending the adoption of Cengage Pre-Calculus with Limits and Rice University's OpenStax Pre-Calculus. The committee reviewed McGraw-Hill, and there were 0 recommendations in favor of McGraw-Hill. The selection committee recommended to renew our current resources to ensure alignment with the AP pre-calculus course materials. If there are no questions, I'll pass it over to Lisa for social studies.
Good evening. I am Lisa McCorkadell, and I'm here to present on our new course for African American Studies and the adoption recommendation. This committee was led by Justin Singleton, our social studies coordinator. He's not here tonight, but I will do my best. However, I'm not a social studies content expert. We did follow the same procedures as listed before. We have the adoption selection committee recommendations, the rubric scores, and then some feedback. We have 6 votes because we have 1 from each of the high schools. We had 3 recommended for McGraw-Hill, 2 for Bedford, Freeman, and Worth, and 1 for Pearson. From the members of the committee, some of the feedback included that McGraw-Hill was not perceived as having bias or controversy. Pearson appeared to have the best print and digital platforms for the teachers to share with students. From our public showcase, we had some limited feedback, but it did include favorable for McGraw-Hill as a widely respected foundational text with clear structure that would easily align with AP, but allow for scaffolding for mixed ability classrooms. And then also the Oxford University Press, it was noted that that text would not stand alone because it is more of a resource book, not a text that could lead through the curriculum. Therefore, the committee recommended for both on-level and the advanced placement African American Studies course to have the McGraw-Hill AP African American Studies from Slavery to Freedom text. Any questions on that? Okay, to the recommendations.
All right. So you've heard all of the different subject areas. What you're seeing on the slide is in your handout on page 4. It's also an agenda support item for the community as well that shows a summary of all of the recommendations that we're making tonight. So for next steps, obviously tonight, we look forward to your vote to approve and adopt the materials. After materials are approved, then we will work to order them and get them distributed to the campuses so that they have them ready to begin training on, and then, of course, so they can start the year successfully. We would distribute them, then we would launch an aligned curriculum and pacing guides for staff. We will empower the staff through those targeted trainings that they need. We would set clear shared implementation expectations so that this would be a successful adoption. And we would provide supports during the year with ongoing trainings and coachings for the staff that are using the materials. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions or anything that we can help you understand what we're bringing forward tonight.
Yes, Mr. Silva.
I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you to you and your team. As a first-year board member, I went out to the ISC, and it was very much like, explain this to me like I'm 5, and they did, and so I really appreciate it. So thank you for all the hard work that y'all did in this process.
Thank you.
Mrs. Shaw.
Go ahead. No, I was just say, thank you, all you guys at the campus levels as well. And I know we talked at length last week at the curriculum meeting. Mr. Holmes, Ms. Shaw and I were there. And we had lots of questions that were answered, and a lot of it came through tonight. So it was even more robust than the first time we sat through it, but it was even better the second time. So thank you. So I really don't have any questions for the presentation. I might have some comments later.
Yeah, no, just to echo the same thanks. I think it's not just our curriculum committee, it's not just our campus, it's our campus staff, it's our stakeholders, it's teaching and learning, it's the teachers that went through this. This is our second year in our adoption process. So I don't want to say this is our first adoption. This is our second adoption. We've learned a lot in that process, and you guys have adjusted, and you've fixed things, you've made things better, and it's a learning process, and you guys are growing in that. Our elementary staff with Bluebonnet has done a great job with it. Our administration in elementary, and then Ms. Erb, you guys have, and Ms. Hayhurst, you guys have really implemented. I mean, it was difficult. It was the first time we've rolled out curriculum. This will be the second time we've rolled out curriculum. So I just want, I mean, I think we need to just, as a district, celebrate the fact that we're actually moving in a positive direction, and we're moving forward with that. And we're looking at metrics, and we're making data-informed decisions. So thank you for that.
All right. Oh, okay. Yes, Mrs. Parker.
So, I am going to be abstaining tonight, but I appreciate every ounce of work that you guys put into it, every teacher, every minute that you guys put into this. And I am just so thankful that we're going to TEKS-aligned curriculum. I cannot even tell you what a blessing that is. I just, you guys are our resource. You're the smartest people in the room. There are other smart people in Austin that like Bluebonnet, prefer Bluebonnet, and 5 years from now, like this past week, the State Board of Education started working on their social studies TEKS, and Bluebonnet now is the basis. They have the answers for later, and Bluebonnet is the basis for what will be the vocabulary and the books that kids read and the social studies curriculum. So they have the answers to the questions right now that are going to be asked 5 years from now. So I'm a Bluebonnet person, but I'm not going to vote against you guys and all the hard work that you did. And I want you to know that I really, really, truly appreciate it.
Hey, I want to say I think this is the most comprehensive level of in-depth input from our teachers. Again, this team that helped put all of this together. I just want to say thank you. I echo the sentiments of my peers. And again, I have to trust you. They say a brilliant person is brilliant because they can admit what they don't know, and they leave that to the people who do. The numbers speak volumes. It's overwhelming. So thank you.
Just a quick comment on that. HMH is also updating the TEKS for the star line changes that are going to happen in social studies, English, math, all of those curriculum changes. And so HMH is working, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, with the same resources in Austin for TEKS and STAR, right, to be aligned fully.
Yes.
So just to your point, I mean, I think both HMH, and I don't even know about SAVAS, but both groups are working with making sure that those are aligned across the board for those vocabulary elements as well. So not that either one is perfect. I'm just saying the TEKs are moving in that direction to be more aligned with STAR, right? Okay.
Mrs. Parker?
In your, like HMH, like I pulled it, I researched it on my own, and I understand that it's 100% TEKS aligned. And again, just so thankful that we are going to take TEKS aligned curriculum. And I just, again, thank you so much for your work. I respect your work. I'm so grateful and thankful. And I would never vote against y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Eubanks. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
We're going to have a vote on this now, so we're
Yes.
going to have discussion. So is this
Yeah,
discussion
you know what, great-
now or what?
you know what?
That's fine, because I know other people
Great.
may want.
You know what? Let's go ahead and, yes, Mr. Silva. Let's go ahead. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. President. We're looking at 7E. I move to approve the recommended instructional materials review and adoption cycle 2025 and ratify the district certification of provision of instructional materials for the 2026 to 2027 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Grabowski.
I have been quiet until now. But I want to start with my thank yous as well. I was going to make them in my comments, but I want to start with thanking you, Mr. President, for reordering the agenda. I think you are very respectful of the teachers, and a lot of them are probably watching as we speak and waiting for our vote. And a strong thank you also, Ms. Hayhurst and your entire team. And we look at that timeline for months and months, hundreds of people involved, and just thank you for all the efforts all along the way. And since the motion's on the table, I want to say why I am voting for the district recommendations as well. The secondary piece is so clean and simple compared to like the gorilla in the room is the primary. But it's TEA approved HMH and 100% aligned with the TEKS. And here's some of the comments I've had from the teachers, whether it be in HEB or mostly coming out of pickleball, actually, and then on the phone and some other ways, smoke signals. HMH is superior chronological order, no flipping back and forth. You stay organized as a teacher. HMH is colorful and vibrant. Bluebonnet is not, and therefore it's boring to the students. HMH has interesting, grade-appropriate stories. The children will pay attention, whereas in Bluebonnet, they are not age nor interesting stories, and within 5 minutes, the teachers think they will lose the attention of their children and end up with some behavior issues as they read through the rest of the stories. I could certainly see that happening. What nearly each teacher I spoke to said, and this is the line that really hooked me, every single one, not these exact words, but HMH is the one that's best for the kids. I don't know what else there is to even talk about. Can we put slide 50 up there real quick, or is that impossible? Because it's the one Mr. Scarfo had asked earlier. It was slide 48, it's now 50.
He's pulling it. Hang on.
If not, don't worry about it. I just want...
Got a few of
Thank you for numbering the slides, which was Mr. Silver's suggestion back in the day, so thank you.
There you go.
Perfect. And, Bear Branch and Savas did not earn the endorsement of our teachers. You can see the numbers right there on that slide, where HMH has overwhelmingly won the endorsement of our teachers. And there's the numbers to prove it, 80%, 13%, and then a smaller 6%, as slide 50 here shows. And additionally, not mentioned tonight, on 12 of our 30 primary campuses, not one teacher voted for Bear Branch. Not one. Bluebonnet, sorry. That was my beautiful bride getting in my head there, Now we know where she teaches. It's not a secret anymore. I just want to say, seriously, teachers, you have spoken loud and clear, and I hear you. You have endorsed and chosen HMH. Thank you for the teachers also for all the work that you did that allowed the staff to do their job, and as a team, we have a strong, strong consensus which way to move forward. So thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Scarfo. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to just wrap up with this. I have to say, looking at the scoring in the rubric, Bluebonnet didn't do all that badly when you look at that. And I'll tell you what, with all of the trashing it took by certain people out in the world, in the community, and other places, I would have expected it would have done a lot worse than it did, and it really did. So, and I'll tell you, I'm going to support the recommendation of our experts at the campus levels, at the district, because that's what they do, and I'm going to defer to their learned opinion. And it's not because I'm concerned about blue bonnet being Christian nationalism, and you talk about something that's overblown concerns, in my opinion, anyway. And I'll tell you, I was there with Mr. Silva, and I think he'd agree. The rigor is certainly there. I mean, if you look at those textbooks, some of them, I had turned to him on a couple of the first and second grade ones, and I said, how are they going to understand this? It's really hard stuff. So there's no question about the rigor being there. And even this whole concern that was raised about the Bible lessons in there, I think out of all, that's sixth grades, K through 5, maybe there's 2 third grade lessons that I would say maybe are over the top. I mean, if you're not in that religious bent, that particular one, then you might say, oh, that's a little much. And I'd agree with, but 2 lessons in a whole 1-year textbook that has dozens and dozens of lessons, and then, like I said, there's multiply that by 6. So I'm not voting for Bluebonnet at this point in time because of all that noise and chatter that was out there that I think just, people jumping off the cliff needlessly. But again, I'm supporting it because this is what our folks are recommending, and I'm going to defer to their judgment, as I said. And this may all be moot. Dr. Brown, you might want to address this for a moment about what the legislature is getting ready to gear up to do with having a curriculum that everybody's going to have. And that would come into play in 2030 school year?
Yeah, I think there's some discussion about that. We'll see where that goes when the legislature gets in session and the direction they give TEA. But that's certainly, I think, part of a discussion is to have a
Anyway.
Texas curriculum.
Texas curriculum, yeah. Well, it's okay. Anyway, I just wanted to make that comment. My vote is because of what our people are recommending and not because of the scare tactics against Bluebonnet, which, again, overblown, just to say the least. Thank you.
No, I mean, I think it's
Mr.
important to note that we came away from not having a curriculum to both structured literacy curriculums and approaches. Bluebonnet and HMH came out at the top, and they're both structured literacy approaches with the science of reading. As the legislator moves to a One Texas curriculum, both HMH and Bluebonnet, looking at the research, are working together to influence what that curriculum looks like. So you've got ISDs using HMH, you've got ISDs starting to adopt Bluebonnet, but everyone is moving to a structured literacy approach. So going forward with our recommendation, we're not going to be behind. We're going to be following in the direction where TEKS is going and where TEA is going with a structured literacy approach. So I'm just thankful that we're at a structured literacy approach. So I think that's the celebration that we need to make first. And I think there's this, there people are afraid that if as the legislation is becoming more, is going in a direction that we're going to be behind. I don't think so. There are so many districts in the state of Texas with HMH and a structured literacy approach. There are some districts that are not even using HMH. They have their own structured literacy approach in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that don't have Bluebonnet or HMH but have been TEKS aligned. And they're moving and they're influencing TEA and the TEKS components that are changing to be in that matter. So I think it's important to note if we didn't choose a structured literacy approach, we'd be in trouble, right? First and foremost. So as we move in that direction, I just ask our teaching and learning to keep their eyes and ears to that. As you start seeing that evolve, maybe we evolve with that, but we look at that on a year-by-year basis, and they already do that. So that is it.
All right. No more discussion. All those in favor? You already read it. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we have 5 in favor, 1 abstention, 1 not present. We'll go ahead and go right back to the top. And, yeah, 6A. Yeah, 6A. Yeah, we didn't do any of the information items, Mr. Scarfo. So, yeah, item 6. Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and we'll go right back to the top to keep it in order, and we'll move right on through. So, item 6A, intruder detection audit report, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, sir. I have no report tonight. There's been no audits since our last board meeting.
Music to my ears. Thank you, sir. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding that item? Excellent. Item 6B, update, board associations and committees. The first committee is the advocacy committee. Mrs. Parker.
Yeah, we had a very productive meeting with Tom Ramsey in April, and we look forward to another Ramsey meeting and with Commissioner Ellis's office as well.
Audit committee? Anybody want to speak on? Okay, thank you, sir. Building and planning committee, Mr. Scarfo.
No report. We have a meeting on Friday.
Excellent.
Here, in this room.
All right.
Well, we have in different places.
You got it. Curriculum committee, Mrs. Shaw.
The results for today.
Exactly. Finance committee, we have a presentation that is forthcoming, and we'll share more information there. Safety committee, Mr. Grabowski.
Nothing to report.
Yes, sir. Superintendent evaluation, I think it goes in line with the committee, the curriculum committee. And again, I think we're charting very well. Dr. Brown. Technology committee, Mr. Silva.
Nothing for technology.
Thank you, sir. Education Foundation, Mr. Silva.
Yes, sir. Foundation hosted fantastic Boots and Bling Gala just this last week on April 10th, recognizing our Teachers of the Year, top 10 finalists, and of course special celebrations for the district runner-up in the winner. Had a ton of sponsors that made that night possible. Special thank you to Dilly Campus Supply. They gave us custom designed ring for 8 of the finalists, the district runner-up and the district winner. Also want to thank Gulf Coast Educators Federal Credit Union. They sponsored tickets to the event for our 10 finalists and their guests. And special thanks to GTS Technology Solutions. They awarded $5,000 to our district runner-up and secondary teacher of the year, Ms. Thomas from Summer Creek High School, and Robbins Auto $10,000 prize to the district winner and elementary teacher of the year, Ms. McKeague from Elm Grove Elementary. And of course, it's a fundraising event, supports the educator grants that are given right back to Humble ISD teachers. And on that note, it is almost time for the Foundation's Prize Posse Day on May 1st. Looking forward to stopping by the school, celebrating our teachers for their amazing ideas of work in the classrooms, and thank everyone that applied for a grant. That is it.
Thank you. Item 6C, financial services report. Any questions from the board regarding this item? All right, moving on to item 6D, 2026-2027 budget presentation. Mr. Beatty has a presentation for us.
Good evening, trustees. Dr. Brown. Tonight, I'm going to present where we are at this point with the 26-27 budget that we're working on now through the rest of the next coming months. So this budget year, we knew from the beginning that we would have some limitations and it'd be a little bit tighter budget than usual. And so we still use a zero-based budgeting approach, but we did modify things a little bit because, as I'll highlight later on in the presentation, we knew that there wasn't a lot of capacity for just operational budget requests. So instead of having all of our principals and department budget managers submit wish lists, we asked everyone to be very, very thoughtful about what they're submitting because there wasn't, a lot of budget to go around for those operational budget requests. So we did tweak things a little bit just because of the limitations within the budget, but we still had the high priority things filter up, and senior staff has been reviewing those items. And I'll just highlight, we're still in the early phases, early innings of the budget process. So there's still some review and analysis that we're doing over the next couple months. I also want to highlight that we're aligning this budget to our two new goals. So everything within this budget is going to be aligned. We're going to be aligning our resources to student success and also student safety, and student and staff safety, sorry. This budget cycle is a little bit different than last year because last year was a legislative year, so we were kind of just waiting and seeing, and there was a lot of surprises. This is a little different. We're not expecting any surprises here. We kind of know what we're going to get here. So although we're evaluating some requests that have come through, as far as revenue goes, there's not going to be any major changes with revenue. So a potential timeline for the rest of the budget process, this is just one option that we could go with, is tonight's budget overview presentation, and then we could be prepared to provide a budget workshop on May 12th, and then potentially a budget adoption on June 9th. I know I've been saying this a lot for the past few years, but I can't emphasize how difficult school finance has been over the past few years. It seems like every day there's a new article about a district and the financial troubles that they're experiencing. And there's a lot of factors. We've talked about the factors that are contributing to that. But I do want to highlight, we compare ourselves to 14 local area districts. And of those 14 area districts, this is the percentage of those districts adopting deficit recurring budgets over the last 3 years. And a point, I guess an important point is that we got House Bill 2 last year, which was a lot of money. 25-26, we got infused by the state with a lot of money. And you can still see that it didn't make a big overall impact on a lot of school districts' budgets because, large part, that money was directed to specific uses. So, for example, the extra money we received last year, half of it was directed to teacher raises. And then there's other specific requirements for the other funding as well. So it didn't actually help a lot of districts fill holes that were already there. But I only, and I'll also say about House Bill 2 is that a lot of those funds were front-loaded. So the state meets every 2 years, and that's everything's built in for the budget for 2 years. So that extra funding was really front-loaded to all districts. So I would expect 26-27 to be an even more difficult year because we got a lot of that extra money in the first year of the biennium, and now the second year in 26-27, there's not a lot of new revenue coming as a result of House Bill 2. So I only highlight this because it is difficult to make school finance work. I just want to say that, as we were building this budget, again, I have not presented deficit budgets to you. We have not adopted deficit budgets. And that was a priority, again, to maintain that balanced budget that we've had in place and to continue that balanced budget in 26-27 as well. Some of the major portion, well, the biggest part of the 26-27 budget is always compensation. People, salary benefits, that amounts to about 88% of our overall recurring budget. And so the biggest priority we had in this budget was trying to be as competitive as we could with compensation. And so in this budget, we're going to be recommending a 3% overall general pay increase. And I think that we could be more cautious with this, but inflation has been running high, and I think it's difficult, for rising fuel prices and things out there but a 3% raise would help our staff. It would go a long way. And just to kind of further the point about the 3%, as I've been following local area districts, it looks like the market's going to move about 1.5%. It looks like a lot of districts won't be able to be as competitive with their raises this year. So this 3% would also allow us to be really competitive in our local market to help us attract and retain staff as well. And then we're also looking at equity adjustments. This is where we look to see if any jobs have fallen below market that we're losing position and risking not being able to fill those positions. And so we have a number of those that we're looking at. Some of those I'll bring further detail in our next meeting, but some of the highlights on that, we're looking at bus drivers is one of the major areas, and police officers we're looking at. We might need to look at instructional material committee review stipends, potentially. But that's the bucket of funds that would come from there. And so we're reviewing those, and we'll bring more detail about that in a future meeting. We also, in this budget, have an allocation for special education. We're doing a lot of analysis right there. There's a lot of review being done in that area to make, but we have funds allocated to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our special education students. And then the just overall operational budget requests, we have a small allocation for those too. Although we're limiting what we're approving in that, or recommending in that, that just the general budget request area, I will note something different about Humble ISD than most districts. Most districts' budgets are use it or lose it. So, you have to spend that money, or you're not going to get to keep it, hold on to it. So, something different that we do is we allow you to carry forward 15% of your unused budget. So, it allows campuses to build up a bit of a savings account, to say, their own fund balance. And so there's a lot of healthy carry forward balances out there at campuses and departments. So although we're lowering how much we normally approve on budget requests, I don't think it'll have a significant impact to campuses and departments because they have built up some of that internal savings account within their budgets. We have the best health plan in the state. I'm confident in saying that. But we have a deficit within the health plan fund, and we need to address that deficit so that we can keep having the best health plan in the state. And so we are recommending a premium increase for the high deductible and the primary plans, and we're also recommending adding a Kelsey-Seybold plan option. And I believe we need to increase rates a little bit to help that funding issue. And also the Kelsey-Seybold gives an option that we would add this plan without. We would keep the premiums the same as the primary plan this year. So it gives employees a choice to not have a premium increase if they're happy with Kelsey-Seybold network. But the Kelsey-Seybold plan will also help us control some spend. The way that plan is designed is that it has a cap rate, so everything that those who are participating in that plan, the services they receive through Kelsey are included within that monthly cap rate. So it helps us manage costs a little bit better.
And Mr. Beatty, can you address, and you may have it in here, even with the slight increase that we're looking at in the plan, it's still well below the state plan if we were to go back to that.
Yes, sir. That is a perfect segue to this slide right here. So I will say that even what this is right here is a look at our current premiums, our recommended increase to the premiums, and then how that compares to right now, the 25-26 current year TRS active care districts and what employees pay every month at those districts that participate in active care. And so you can see this is a little bit of apples and oranges because we're comparing our increased next year rates to what everyone's paying right now. And TRS has had a track record of significantly increasing premiums year on year. So this is really a cost savings floor. This is only going to be even more savings for employees. So you can just see on the right, I mean, these are really significant numbers. Car payments, here kind of savings versus other districts that participate in TRS active care. So even with those premium increases, we are really in a good position as far as affordability goes. And this plan is very rich after you even hand over your card. Low copays, next level, totally free. Patient's choice, helping out surgeries and imaging. So there's a lot of savings for our staff here. So what does, where do things stand at this moment in time? Again, this is a little bit early, but this is what it looks like. I believe that we have about $14.8 million of capacity of revenue that we can budget out. I'm recommending at this time that we try to keep that around $14.2 million. As you can see, the 3% raise for everyone would cost us $12.6 million. And then that position review where we're looking where we have to lift some areas, some job areas that we have $600,000 allocated right there. And every one of these allocations could change. That's what we're working on right now is this is a starting point, and then by May, our next meeting, we'll have more near final recommendations there. And as you can see, this would leave us, we're preparing for a balanced budget here. Another thing, as we evaluate requests that come up through the budget process, some of the requests are more one-time in nature. And so instead of adding a recurring budget line item to those requests, we will allocate fund balance to use for those one-time requests. And so just to look, again, we're going to bring the more details in the future as we evaluate all of them. But just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at right now on the one-time recommendations, the recommending continuing the non-House Bill 3 stipend. This is a stipend where the original House Bill 3 back in 2019, there was some compensation elements to that legislation, and so we gave everybody a stipend to make sure that we're meeting those requirements. We rolled the teachers' side of those stipends in their base pay a long time ago, but we've just kind of been rolling with this, the non-teachers, the House Bill 3 stipend ever since. And so recommending continuing that is $500 in December and $500 in May for basically non-teaching job categories. And this makes a very big impact for us on the hourly staff. For example, this could almost mean almost another $1 an hour versus another district because we do this. So it allows us to be really competitive in some of those hourly jobs. And then looking at fine arts, it looks like we have some uniform and instrument replacement that we could invest in, and then safety and security equipment, and always looking at police vehicles as well. So those are the one-time items we're looking at this moment. And then as far as next steps go, we can be prepared to present further detail at the May 12th budget workshop. We also are in a unique position that we could leverage our 3% increase early on. So we could be prepared to present a recommendation for approval for the compensation side of our budget. The benefit of doing that is if you can, if in a year that you know that you may be leading the market, getting that approved early just allows for us to better attract and retain. As we move into the hiring season, as we wrap up the end of the school year, the confidence of our existing staff knowing exactly what they're going to receive and that it's likely the best offer out there allows us to keep staff. And then also, as some of the other districts may not be providing an increase or a lower increase, it just gives us that, it allows us to attract staff as well. So we're looking at the possibility of bringing that forward for you all's review and approval earlier, so we could leverage that opportunity. And then, again, as I said earlier, bringing you further detail on some of those items that we're reviewing right now and doing the analysis on in the next meeting. And then we'll also bring up child nutrition and debt service budgets to bring those for you for review. And last but not least, property taxes. So not much has changed in the second year of the biennium, so there won't be anything largely different, but we'll bring the property tax information to you as well at the next meeting. And with that, that's all I have for you tonight. So are there any questions?
Any questions from the board? Yes, Mrs. Shaw.
When do we get the results for the special education audit?
It is, yes. So that is partially why I'm not able to give you, because it's still being evaluated at this time.
I'll look at it from what inputs, or can we talk about it at there? I mean, is that when it's going to be talked about, or how's that work?
Well,
The special education audit, like what are the implications of that in that 750, or that prioritization of funding?
What I'd like to do is, I'm going to send it to you tomorrow, the audit. But I was going to put in there that I would like to use them, when he talks about a budget workshop, that's our regular scheduled board meeting, and so we would do something very similar to what we're doing tonight. And I'd like to use the May 19th, because that's when the Stetson group can come and present, the ones that actually did the audit.
Got it.
And so since that's already on everyone's calendar, the budget workshop, May 19th, I would like to use that opportunity to present the audit of special education and have that workshop. Because I think that needs to be a separate workshop. I don't think that's something we would want to do at a regular board meeting just because of the time it's going to take.
But what we're approving with that allocated money would be based off of, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Again, moving on to item 7A, Senate Bill 546, seatbelt requirement. We have a presentation from Dr. Siebert on this particular item.
All right, good evening. So we're going to talk about seatbelts and buses. So we go from the budget to that, so it all ties together eventually. So I'm going to talk about Senate Bill 546, which was a Senate bill that was passed last legislative session. And to kind of give you, there we go. So before we get into it, I want to give you an overview of our transportation bus fleet. So we currently have about 321 buses, and that includes buses that are used for transporting kids on a daily basis, as well as some equipment buses. So when we get down the slides, we're going to see just how many we have that transport students. If you look at the slides, you can see that about 40% of our fleet's pretty old. They're more than about 17 years old, and those buses are averaging right now about 197,000 miles. So I don't know how many people in here drive a car that's over 17 years old with that many miles. If you do, more power to you, but our mechanics have done a great job at keeping them up, and then you can see as we go, we have some newer buses. Those 11 buses from 2026 were ordered about 2 years ago, so it's about how long it took to get those buses. So you kind of see the different ages of our fleet across the different buses that we have. And then with that, so what we're going to talk about tonight, Senate Bill 546, which requires that every single student bus have a 3-point seatbelt, so kind of like the shoulder and lap belt together. Some of our buses have 2-point seatbelt right now, or no seatbelts at all. So with this, that's the requirement. However, they know that not everybody currently has the funding to have that, to put that into their buses or to buy new buses that meet that requirement. So what we're talking about tonight, the requirements are we have to share with you how many buses we have that meet each category and what the cost would be to get our fleet up to date to meet that requirement for Senate Bill 546. And then we have to submit that information to TEA by the end of May so they can collect it and then tell the legislative session that's going to meet next year how much money is needed across the state to be able to make that happen. So with that, so we currently have 308 buses that transport students on a daily basis, whether it's on field trips, shuttles, or to and from school routes in the morning and in the afternoon. 94 of those buses are currently compliant, so about 31% of our buses meet that standard of a 3-point seatbelt. So the rest of our fleet does not, and that's primarily because of the age of our fleet and when we bought a lot of those buses. So 66 of our buses have 2-point seatbelts, and then which is a typical lap belt, and then 148 of our buses have no seatbelts at all. And so these are used on a daily basis. So I see President Holmes pretty shocked by that, but yep, that's the numbers that we have, and a lot of it's because of the age of the buses. So in order to get compliant, it's not a cheap thing. We just saw from Billy how there's $679,000 left in the budget, so we're going to take all that really quick. No, we're not. But so you can see it would cost about $13.5 million to be compliant with Senate Bill 546, and there's different quotes we've received. So the buses with 2-point seatbelts, you see that's a large number, about $7.5 million to fit those 42 buses with a 3-point seatbelt. The reason is because you're retrofitting the whole bus and the way those are made. They'd have to take out the whole bottom chassis and the floor and then redo the way the whole seats and everything work. So it's not a cheap thing to do. The 148 buses with no seatbelts, the way they're designed, it'd be easier to put them in. So it's about $1.7 million roughly to be able to do those buses. And then Bluebird, another one of the manufacturers, we have 24 of those buses. They say their buses cannot configure a 3-point seatbelt. So in order to get those compliant, we would have to replace those entirely. And that replacement cost would be about $4.3 million or so. So the total cost to be compliant with Senate Bill 546, as I said, is about $13.5 million. So with that, as the law says, the board has to take action on this information. So in your packet or in your agenda online, there's a resolution, and Section 4 of that resolution provides 2 options for you. One is to say, hey, our budget's going to do it, and we can make it work. Or the second option, which we're recommending, is to say our budget does not permit us to immediately retrofit and replace all our buses to meet Senate Bill 546. And we're continuing, I mean, obviously, if we have buses that are averaging almost 200,000 miles, we don't want to spend, you saw $7 million to get those to have 3-point seatbelts. That's not economic, that's not responsible to do with our money that we have. So what we're recommending is to make a motion to take board action to approve the resolution with the second option there in Section 4, and then we'll report that information to TEA. And as we continue to buy buses, we'll continue to make sure they meet the requirements set forth. But then we'll see what happens in the next legislative session to help us move forward with this.
We currently have an order for buses, correct? Or we're planning on replacing some buses?
Yep, so we're currently going to, on CH tonight, was 20 buses to be ordered. So we have 20 buses that we're going to put a PO in this week for, hopefully.
So we're going to work our way towards this,
Yes.
but it's going to take time.
Correct, yep. So currently we buy about 4 or 5 buses a year. And so Mr. Beatty and I have been looking at the budget, trying to find ways to speed that up. And so we're using 20 with some bond funds, which was approved in the board CH item tonight. And then we're continually so after those 20, I believe we'll be at about 37% or like right around 37, 38% compliant. Then we'll keep going every year and seeing what we can do.
For those 20 buses, what's the budget on that? I just wanted the public to know.
It's just under $3.5 million.
And that just brings us to 30%. So right now, we're at 70% out of compliance. And can you bring back that slide that showed those that don't have any seatbelts? It's 148.
148. So that'll go down to 128.
Now, if I was back in 70s when you could do that right in the station wagon and you sat in like that 4th row and you're facing the back and it's no seatbelt and you ride, you know what I mean? It was a big metal tank, that's fine, but I would never have my child without a seatbelt, and we have 148 buses, average, carry 60 kids? Yeah, we gotta figure this out. And I know
This
we
isn't,
can't-
this isn't new. I mean,
No, I
this
know.
is, I
know.
mean.
It's
this-
just, I think seeing it.
Oh,
it
well,
just
okay, I'm
is-
sorry. I thought people were aware. I mean, it's.
Yeah, so
this
it
has
wasn't,
been-
I believe it wasn't actually required
forever.
until 2018-ish
Yeah.
to start buying the seatbelts.
That's
right.
With the buses. So
And how much are they a pop now? 200 and what per
they're
bus?
just under 200 depending. So the ones we're getting right now are between 157 and 180.
Yeah.
Well, and even if we order, I mean, even if we wanted
2
to,
years,
how long does
yeah.
it take to get a bus? Like these 20, how long will it take us for those to actually show up on the lot?
So these ones we actually found relatively on a lot. We should have them by the end of the summer.
Okay, that's
So-
good.
So we
That's-
did get 2 quotes. The other quote said it would take 9 to 12 months.
Okay.
So, and the ones we received some this year that we ordered 2 years ago.
So that group that you wanted to spend, that would spend 7.4 million, that's like $312,000 a bus for an old bus.
For an for a very old bus that
Yeah.
leaks air
Yeah.
conditioning
I mean,
and everything
really,
else. Yes.
it's crazy that school buses were ever made without seatbelts at all. I mean, I've always wondered about that. Like, I'm going back 20 years. I mean, like why they ever were, especially cars already were having at least a 2-point. I never got that, but, anyway, well, we'll get there.
And if I can add, we're looking at this 100 different ways. And there is a model where, so Jason and I are looking at how the age of every bus with the mileage, and some of those buses, we're trying to take this two-prong approach to some buses we just need to replace, and they'll have the seatbelt. There's also some buses out there that we can retrofit that are, we're getting quotes that are somewhat reasonable and make sense for the age of the bus, so that the useful life of that investment in the seatbelt, is well worth it. We had, and not to say that any investment in safety is always worth it. Truly agree with the intent of the state. They just didn't give us any money to do it. And so we're really trying to get innovative and come up with these ideas. But there is a model where there's a range of buses that we can retrofit. We had $6 million as a placeholder within our bond program. If we use 3 million of those for new buses, and we use 3 million of retrofit, that brings us in relatively short time up to 64% compliant. And so we can make big hits in chunks at this, but it's a little bit of a work in progress to get there. And if we go with that, and then maybe the state will come through too at any moment, maybe based off this information, and provide us further funding to take another hit at this.
Mr. Grabowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Saber, can you advance one slide, please? Yeah, can you explain why, with no seatbelts, if we have a placeholder for $6 million for 1.7 million, basically, the number in the middle, 148 more of our buses would become compliant? And why it's so less expensive for 148?
It's the type of buses of the manufacturer.
And so the bracing in the floor and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking at then? Those are the buses in particular that you're, okay.
Yep, like 64 of those are between 2016, 2017, and 2018.
Is that,
I mean, that's the year of the bus. So like, it wouldn't be the buses that are 17 years old. So these would be 10 to 12-year-old buses. So like, we don't want to retrofit a bus from 2010, because that one with 220,000 miles isn't going to last us much longer. So we could do parts of them, and that's kind of the stepped approach Mr. Beatty was talking about that we've looked at.
Thank you very
Thank you. Mrs. Parker.
Obviously, everybody in this room wants our kids to be as safe as humanly possible on buses, but my guess is the Texas legislature did this twofold. Either do it or give us the data, because it's an unfunded mandate, and the hope would be next legislative session that they would fund the mandate.
They did, I'd like to add to that, they did this exact same process for the safety recommendations after Uvalde with the fences and hardening of the schools. They did this exact, very similar process.
All right. Mr. Silva, would you please read the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the resolution with the determination that, quote, "The district's current budget does not permit immediate retrofit and replacement of all buses lacking three-point seatbelts, and such determination is made by formal vote in this public meeting, with the financial findings above serving as the documented basis for this determination as authorized under SB 546, end quote.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Mrs. Parker.
Could we amend the motion to say the district's current budget unfortunately does not permit, or is this the law?
No, there's no legal mandate about having to change the wording a little bit if that's the will of the board.
Okay, I move to change the motion to add unfortunately.
Did you want to say something, Mrs. Shaw?
Well, we would need
Not until a second.
We would need a second.
We need a second. Any second on that amendment? All right. The motion to modify the first motion does not pass, so I believe it goes back to all those in favor of the original motion. Any discussion? First of all, yes. Yep.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I was raising my hand because you.
All right, no discussion. All those in favor of the original motion? All right. Vote passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Siebert. All right, item 7B, approval to seek a vendor to implement an anonymous staff survey for the 2026-2027 school year. Mr. Silva, would you please read the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve seeking a vendor to assure anonymity in staff responses to campus climate surveys implemented in the 2026 to 2027 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Vote passes unanimously 6-0. Item 7C, approval of new materials for library acquisitions, review of specific titles from 12/5/25 posting. Mr. Silva, would you please read the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to approve the titles listed in the agenda as recommended by the School Library Advisory Council.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Grabowski.
Yeah, I got a bunch of comments on the books in general, and Dr. Lee, I don't know how you keep everybody in control at that meeting. I don't. When I get the phone calls I get, my hat's off to you. But you know, I got this by talking to our attorney here. The definition of harmful material, which some say are in these books, and then we're voting that's allowing them to move forward, and so. I don't know if we have the right standard yet at the SLAC, or the committee that's reviewing the books, where harmful material means material whose dominant theme, taken as a whole, does one of three things. One, appeals to the prurient interests of a minor in sex, nudity, or excretion. Two, is patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole with respect to what is suitable for minors. And three, is utterly without redeeming social value for minors. And I've had numerous people tell me on SAC that the books absolutely are harmful. And I don't know how to change the problem because I got told this over the last 2 days. I haven't had really a time to come up with a solution. But I think the way the SLAC is working at the moment, and I don't know how you keep them under control, but thank you for doing what you're doing. I think we need some adjusting to the SLAC because I think we're allowing books into our schools that the whole purpose of the SLAC was to stop from getting in the schools. That's just how I feel. Thank you.
Any other commentary, discussion? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
I would just, I understand, Mr. Grabowski, your point's well taken. But one thing I thought the whole purpose, Dr. Lee, maybe would you mind, Dr. Brown, is that okay? if Dr. Leeds, yeah. I thought the purpose of the SLAC, at least when it was instituted by the legislature and we went ahead and did it on our own accord rather than waiting for people to ask us to do it, was so that those exact matters could be handled, correct, Counselor? And that it would be determined book by book when, as needed for that to be the case. So I guess, and I probably should have suggested this last time because we had to push this back. Maybe in the future, I don't know what you guys think, just throwing it out there, just kind of spitballing, that maybe it would be good when we have a motion to have to vote on, is to have the chair and the vice chair attend a board meeting so they could actually give us some feedback or context of what they saw there and answer questions, because I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the votes, and some of them were close, but a lot of them were not close. So are we back to where we're going to have to say, let's amend this motion and push it back? And I guess you get to the point where, do we need to, and I did send an email to you and Mr. Rush that came from one of the members, I think it was, with questions, which, I thought they were fair questions. I didn't have the answers to them about what could and can't be done. Do we need to get together as a board and maybe go through that policy again and decide what to give more guidance, guardrails, whatever? Because at the end of the day, we have to raise our hands or not, or yes or no. And I hate to do that if I don't have all the information. I'm not saying that that's the case now. You didn't tell us in all the back and forth, and you gave us a lot of good information, a lot of detail, as I asked you for some, and other people did too, and you gave us a lot. I guess reading comments that are there and, this summaries and looking at some of the votes, I didn't have a lot of heartburn, but Mr. Grabowski is saying that he's gotten some indication that that wasn't the case. And I did hear late today that there was an issue at that last meeting with people in attendance versus people who were on the committee. And I don't know, I wasn't there. And these meetings are recorded?
Yes, sir.
Just by voice or?
I have both. I have a video recording and an audio recording. That's one of the questions we have right now is what we need to have posted, but we have both currently.
Okay. And that's a public record then, right?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
sir.
I don't know. I'm at a loss. I really didn't think this was going to be as complicated as it's become, and I thought it was going to be a positive. And a lot of times now, and I'm talking about all those people. We got 21 people who agreed to work on this. I'm sure everybody's not there at every meeting, but you get all these people who are putting their time and effort into it. And I hate to tell them, then if I was on the committee, I think I'd say, well, you know what? Why don't you guys read all those books? And you do it yourself. You don't need me. I mean, that would be my I would kind of get a little snarky, I think, which I never do. But anyway, I don't even know where I'm going. I'm at a loss. I don't know what you can share with us as terms of what Mr. Grabowski raised. I mean, were you hearing that? Were you sensing that?
I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I'll do my best. After the initial set was set back to the SLAC to review, the chair and vice chair and I did debrief trying to figure out the best way to approach it at a future meeting so it would be the most constructive. And that's the feedback that we sent to you. So you have a little more information than the public got, which listed very specific comments that were made, both positive comments and concerned comments for each book, because we wanted to make sure you saw a full picture of what was discussed by each member. A lot of the comments were just no comment, and so that unfortunately doesn't help us weigh in to the conversation one way or another. The chair did also review that document before I sent it to you, so she is well aware. Of course, by all means, I would encourage, if you want them to come and they're available, to give you the same context. Our goal was really to make sure in this last one that every SLAC member present had the opportunity to have their voice heard, not cutting anybody off, making sure everybody had time to thoroughly express whether they had a positive positive or concerns about a book so that we'd be able to give you the most accurate picture of the discussion as possible. That was our primary goal in the document you received. I think there are definitely, one of the goals of the SLAC is community standards, right? That's written in the statute multiple times, is what they are there to define the community standard. And it's clear that with 21 members, there's a great range of what that is, what the community standards are, and that comes out very clearly in the discussions as well.
Yeah, which makes sense because people come from different political
Correct.
backgrounds and persuasions and beliefs, and that's okay, but it's supposed to be a balance. Let me ask you this, I'll put you on the spot. Of these 11 titles, are there any that you think rise, and I know in our library material policy, it's pretty clear, because I forced the fact over 2 years ago, I think it was 3, to put in that language by the TEA. That made it real clear where it went across the line.
Yeah.
Do you feel any of these titles cross those guardrails? I know I'm putting you in an unenviable spot, and you don't even have to answer it, but you're getting a stipend, right? So just kidding. And maybe you shouldn't answer.
I haven't read any of them specifically, so I can't speak to them
Okay,
personally. I can
that's
say
fine.
that several of the SLAC members did read them. I can say that.
That's a tough one, Dr.
Okay.
But
No,
I can
no,
say several of the SLAC members read them, and they gave their comments on them. I can say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, and they did, and if you read the comments, some were limited, right? Some were null, and it's 21 people that reflect the entire district. I think we did do a good job in putting together 21 people, right? Good, bad, or indifferent for whatever you may say, but this has come back twice now, right? And so the second time they have read this, you have tremendous amount of librarians in that room, like several librarians in that room, more than several, right? That have been retired.
We've had different numbers attend depending on their availability, but they've been there to try to answer questions to
But
the
this is
SLAC
the
as they've
second
had
time
them.
it's come back. So some came the first time, some
Yes,
came the second time.
correct.
So you've captured the majority of them, about 80% of them, hopefully, right?
We have not had 80% of the librarians
Okay.
attending, no,
We have
ma'am.
not?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we've had 2 or 3 that are available to attend the meetings and answer questions as best they could. It's just whether or not they've been available to attend and choose to
Okay.
attend afterwards,
So it's just the SLAC committee. We can just say what it is. Okay.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
But they've looked at it twice,
Yes,
So-
and they've come back with this recommendation.
yes, based on the votes I gave you per book, yes.
And that's where I was going to go. So these books that are listed here, the SLAC committee looked at, reviewed,
Twice.
discussed, and are recommending that the board approve this list.
Yes.
So I think that's the process.
It's the
And so you all have to decide, do you agree with this recommendation or not agree with this recommendation? But when you have 21 people, you're going to have a variety of opinions on, especially this topic with library books. And because some people believe you should not ban any books. Some people believe, well, this one should be because, and so that's what they're having that discussion on. And so these are the books that are brought forward, and that's the process that's been set up and approved by you all for this committee and appointed. And so I think you just have to decide, do you agree with their recommendation or not?
And a lot of districts have not done SLAC committees because of this process being so new, you know? I'm sorry.
Yes,
was
Mrs.
gonna-
Parker.
We don't ban books, Dr. Brown. We do not ban books. We don't make them
Some
available
people
at
want that,
school.
though. Some
We
people want
don't.
that. They want the books
But-
banned from
but
the schools. I'm
any
not saying we
parent-
do, but there are some people out there with those views that this book should be banned and never in the library of a school. And other people would have a different opinion
Any
about that.
parent can go take their child and buy any book they want and have their child read any book they like.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that. But again, this is the process that has been approved by the board, the School Library Advisory Committee, and appointed by the board. And so they're going to work through these books like this, and they're going to bring recommendations, and then you all truly have to just decide, do you agree with it or not?
Yes, Mrs. Shaw.
I was just at a TASB training session, and a lot of districts have not gone through the SLAC committee yet because of this kind of ambiguity in the whole process, right? So, I mean, this is our first iteration with this. It's gone back twice. I would say if this has gone back once, we would have some variability in this to send it back. We've sent it back twice, and they've come back with this recommendation. So we've got to honor if we're going to do this as a SLAC committee, we have to honor the process. It's not going to be perfect,
It's not.
and it's going to have some holes.
Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
Yeah, I'll just add that we have gone back choice, but as far as, these particular titles, my inclination is to say, okay, because I did see where they did, the committee voted, they didn't want it at elementary school, but it could be at middle school, or, didn't want it at middle school, but it could be at high school. And I think that shows me there's a lot of thought going into it, regardless of your political persuasion on topics and this and that. So but I think maybe this is something we're going to have to decide. My inclination personally is that I'll vote with the recommendation the way they made it on this one. But I think going forward, we gotta look at the process, because we can't be doing this every time, or again, we just read 1,000 titles each year, between us. And I don't know if you guys got time to do that, but we're trying to spread the workload. But I think maybe we need to have clearer guidelines as to where you're crossing lines, and make sure people understand, like, even though what your personal opinion may be, like, I think it's fine, well, problem is, statute doesn't agree with you. And Counselor, I mean, is that something we could do, or you could do with the committee? And again, it's going to be reconstituted come July. What is it, Mike? July, where it'll be?
It's July 31st, sir.
It'll be it could be,
July
I mean,
31st.
a board member may appoint their same 3 people, whatever, but it could be a total new group of 21. But we got to do something, because this is not working. It's just not working. And it's not right to those folks, to you guys, to all of us, to the district. And we need to fix. But as Ms. Shaw said, I don't mind us being trailblazers in certain areas. And this is one of them. And I think it's good, that we're doing it. Because, anyway.
Yes, Mr. Silva.
I just want to say thank you. Everybody is saying the greatest about you, and you're up there asking questions you didn't want to answer and pleaded the fifth in the greatest way you could have pleaded.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a great job. And
Thank you.
Everybody is saying that you have an impossible task. So we need to, I agree with Mr. Scarfo, do something with it. It's broken in its current form, in my opinion. So thank you for what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
On the SLAC committee process, because it's a new process.
Mrs. Shaw.
Sorry.
I have to let Mr. Silva speak. He was next in line.
No, I just want to piggyback a little bit. First of all, again, Dr. Lee has responded to all my stuff. And Mr. Scarfo mentioned this already, but the SLAC appointees, or at least the 3 that I appointed, and I'm talking to them after every meeting, are spending so much time reading and researching, and so super appreciate it. And I think a little bit of perspective, like, this is a layer, right? Like, we go back to layers of protection. SLAC is one layer. At any point, we had, I don't know what book Mr. Grabowski's referring to, but Mr. Grabowski could move to amend the motion and take a title off if he wanted to. On top of that, parents can X off books that their kids can't check out from the library. On top of that, a community member can challenge a book at any time. In fact, the very first decision the SLAC brought back was to remove a book from certain libraries. I don't even remember what it was, but remove a book from a library. So there's a lot of layers here, and this is one. And so I just wanted to make sure that perspective was set a little bit as well. But again, thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Absolutely. Yes, Mrs. Shaw.
Have a board member on the SLAC committee, or a board member, no, we cannot be there at that committee meeting, right?
I would have to defer to legal. That's not how I understand it.
Yeah.
I think you could attend. People attend. It's a public meeting. Probably not participate as a voting member,
Right,
but attend and be part.
there, okay. So we could designate a board member going to a meeting, just to see how the process is going if you want to. Just.
Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? All right. All those opposed? All right. Motion passes 4-2. Item 7C, approval of new materials for library acquisitions. Review of specific titles from 12/5/2025 posting. Mr. Silva, would you please read the motion?
Yes, Mr. President. This is actually 7D.
I'm sorry, 7D. My apologies.
I move to approve the recommendation of the School Library Committee to approve the the 145 books that are already owned in Omaha ISD, and Danger Files, Real Life Disasters by Reading, from the list posted on March 2nd, 2026.
Any discussion? Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Grabowski.
Oh, sorry, did somebody second?
Oh,
Second.
my apologies. Yes.
I just say that the problems that I discussed earlier are similar to this issue as well. That's all.
Yes, sir. Any discussion? Any further?
The-
Yes, Mr. Silva.
I had spoken to my appointees, and one of the things that they had mentioned on the timing of the 145 is that a lot of these needed to get ordered for Battle of the Books and making sure that they could have them by next year. And again, it's only ones that are already owned by Omaha ISD, plus one.
Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Scarfo.
I say, Dr. Lee, are they recommending it? They're not recommending taking it. You already own these. They're in the library. They're already acquired.
Correct. We own them. We just don't own the new specific ISBN numbers of these. So we own other versions of them. Every publisher puts their own ISBN out for their own binding. It might be a 20th edition. It's still the exact same book. We just don't own that ISBN, and the law goes down to that granular level. So these are all books that are already owned in some way, shape, or form in our district, plus the one that they need for Battle of the Books.
Mr. Grabowski.
Yeah, Dr. Lee, I also heard there was numerous books and ISBN numbers that were mismatched, and so that they didn't align the way they were supposed to. That's just what I heard. I don't.
So nobody brought mismatched up to me. What we did see was that we tried to divide the list when we initially sent it to them of which ones were owned by Omaha ISD, and our team missed several. So we came back to them with a redone version of that to show them which ones we had missed. So that was something, but it was sent out. I'm going to have to go back and look, but I want to say within a week or two of us initially sending out. I haven't heard that there was a mismatch in titles in ISBN, so if that's a situation, I'm happy to look into it.
All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? I want to make sure, Oscar, did I see yours? I'm sorry.
I voted for.
Okay. Yeah, so, Mr. Rush, I believe does the motion pass on 3-3? Okay, it dies.
Motion
It
fails 3-3.
Motion fails. 3-3. All right. Okay. Yes. You got it? All right. Item 7E, instructional materials review and adoption.
Mr. President, we already
that's
did
right,
that.
We already did that one. My apologies. Oh, my Jesus. Yes. Oh. I'm sorry, but that would be twice. Yes. My apologies. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Consideration of topics for future board business. Are there any topics that we'd like to present? Yes, Mr. Grabowski.
No, this is shocking. We have a report, and we've all been given one, done from Thompson and Horton on an issue we have going on in the district, and I'd like us to consider and take possible action regarding board authorization of public release of the Summer Creek High School Baseball Program Investigated Report dated November 19th, 2025, with appropriate redactions in the discretion of legal counsel. Put on the next regular board meeting in May of 2026.
Well, what does the board say? Yeah, can we take a poll? All right. It'll be going on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Grabowski. Any others? Yes, Mr. Silva.
Based on our conversation tonight, I think that in order to assist our school library advisory council, perhaps adding an agenda item on a future thing to have a discussion around potentially giving them additional guidance and advice and guardrails.
Great idea. Great idea. Poll the board. It'll be on the next agenda.
Thank
Any
you.
others?
No, I said thank you for doing it, because that's how I think we need to do it. I have
Yes,
one.
Mr. Scarpa.
I'd like us to also have on the next agenda, for us to consider releasing the findings of the 2018 forensic audit.
Well, that's done. Okay,
I mean, we may not, but, yeah.
okay. Poll the board on that. Third agenda item that will be added next month's meeting. Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Let's go.
It's going to be a long meeting.
2 minutes.
I don't know how to word this, but I'm going to try my best. My daughter, and I see some of her friends, have dyslexia, and I watch the great difference when they do text-to-speech. And I tend to think, if it works for my daughter and some of her friends when I witness it, why couldn't we take a small classroom and give all the children text-to-speech and see if there is an increase in abilities, even if the children don't have dyslexia? Are we missing something, or can we grow it further and be a pioneer, or however you want to word it? And I would like to pull the board to see if we can put on the agenda the possibility of a small group, as picked by the administration, to see a mix of dyslexia and non-dyslexia, if they actually have further growth, and if this is a possible wave of the future.
As a discussion item?
As
or
a-
an action item?
That's a great question. I would think it would be an action item, because we would ask them to implement it if we like the idea.
Can you explain what
You can't really.
I
Yeah,
can't.
you can't.
I
That's
can't.
right.
That's what we have to put on the
Okay.
agenda for.
So discussion or action item? Action item.
Action item. That way, if we like it,
Let's poll the board. No, is it anything to increase student learning? Okay. That's 4. All right. Any others? This is good. Good. All right. Okay. That being said, the time is now 9:30 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.